Yes, you read the title correctly. The Shibuya incident is the best singular arc in an anime ever. Better than York New City, better than the War on Marley, and better than Pain's Assault. From the very beginning, it had a lot to live up to, coming off the heels of the Hidden Inventory arc. But that arc was just an appetizer. What it did was let people know in the back of their minds that things would go wrong. And boy did they go wrong. One thing that I hate about shonen anime and manga is that in a lot of them, things always work out fine in the end. There are a billion examples of plot-induced luck or plot armor that end up making sure everybody survives and the main characters get a happy ending. But that is very much not the case in Jujutsu Kaisen, especially in and after Shibuya. I made this point in my last Jujutsu Kaisen video too, but when characters die in Jujutsu Kaisen, it feels like an actual death, not just for shock value. In the Hidden Inventory arc and now in the Shibuya incident, whenever a character dies, it feels impactful. Nanami, Jogo, and Edo Toji are my favorite deaths in Shibuya because it wrapped up all their character arcs in a nice and satisfying way. If anything, they felt more shocking in the manga than they did in the anime, because in the manga they have to bang out a chapter every week and don't have time for lengthy segments to make you feel sad. But in the anime they took their sweet time making it hurt when they did die. There is never a slow moment in the Shibuya incident. There is a banger fight in every single episode except for the first few, and all the flashbacks and in-fight explanations flow well and don't feel jarring. Though I can't lie, the season was a bit rocky in the beginning. Yuji versus the Grasshopper Curse was kinda yikes, but everything after Gojo arrives at the platform is amazing. Every single episode has a well-animated fight in it. Even Yuji and Megumi versus Jiro is such a minor fight, but it's still a masterpiece. They added a lot of anime-only scenes in Shibuya that weren't originally in the manga, and normally I hate it when shows do this because not only does it detract from the main story, it also really messes with the pacing. But it was the complete opposite case in Shibuya. All the anime-only scenes were in the fight scenes, and every single one of them were great and only enhanced the fight even more. Toji versus Dagon, Toji versus Megumi, and Yuji versus Choso are some of the fights that benefited the most from the extra anime-only scenes. But the best part of this arc without a doubt is Sukuna. For the 4 episodes that he's on screen, he completely steals the show. With Toji dead and Gojo sealed, Mappa definitely found a new favorite, and after watching his scenes in Shibuya, he might have overtaken Toji as my favorite character too. I'll talk about his fights in a second, but even his character is more imposing than ever. I think in Shibuya, people finally realize that Sukuna is pure evil and not just a misunderstood character. Gigi uses his evil as a tool to streamline the plot in a sense. Any stragglers that would otherwise bloat the story, key example being the twins, get dealt with by Sukuna. This has a dual effect of tying up any unimportant loose ends and making Sukuna look more powerful and threatening. Sukuna's return gave us 2 of the best episodes in JJK as a whole, and 2 of the best animated and choreographed fights in recent history. Sukuna vs Jogo and Sukuna vs Mahoraga in 2 episodes back to back made Sukuna's return in Shibuya literally historic, and apparently Sukuna vs Mahoraga was only 30% complete according to the animators. I think the fully completed version would have had the viewer getting sliced by Sukuna in real life just by watching it. And while people were distracted by the insane animation, no one talked about the music. When animation is done well, you barely notice it, and when it's done really well, you can't help but be amazed. But with the soundtrack, it's the opposite. A fantastic soundtrack amplifies what you're seeing on screen and how you feel about it without you even realizing. The background music during all of Sukuna's fights is literally biblical and frames him as if the fucking devil himself is coming up to throw some hands.
Cook that shit up, Quay.
Another example is during the fight between Yuji, Megumi, and Jiro. The soundtrack guy is literally lighting his keyboard on a fire while they square off.
Take heed, fuck these niggas up.
But the Shibuya incident isn't just a UFC card. There is amazing character development for everyone involved. Yuji, first and foremost, gets the most in terms of powering up and character development. The scene where he's getting his ass beat by Mahito made Mahito look like an absolute menace, screaming his philosophy while wailing on Yuji. And at the end of the fight with Yuji, Mahito shows exactly what kind of personality he has. Mahito is essentially a child, similar to a big kid in elementary school who bullies the other students. When everything is working, he's cocky and talks a lot of shit, but turns into a scared, crying wreck begging for help when he does lose. We learned a bit more about why Toji did what he did and his relationship with Megumi. One interesting thing to note about Toji is that the facade he shows and what he actually thinks are very different. To me, the scene where he repeats that he doesn't care about Megumi sounds more to me like he's trying to convince himself rather than what he actually feels. And seeing him end his own second life to not hurt his son was honestly really moving, and further cemented him as one of the best characters to come out of the show. Toji, now Bito, and Maki delve a bit deeper into the lore of the Zenin clan, We learn that the students from Kyoto Tech are all bench warmers except for Todo and Mekamaru. Gojo getting sealed finally showed the gravity behind how powerful he is and how the Jujutsu world literally revolves around him. We learn more about Sukuna slowly and how he is capable of actually showing respect to those he deems powerful, and we get more hints and reasoning behind his obsession with Megumi, and he gives another spin on what it's like being the absolute strongest. The relationship between him and Gojo being the strongest finally got brought up in the manga a while back, and sadly it won't come up in the anime for a while, at least until season 4. If you care about it enough, I recommend catching up to the manga and seeing that interaction for yourself. But even after Sukuna goes away, the arc is nice as fuck. Mahito vs Nobara is still a really dope fight despite being kind of minor in the manga until they reach Itadori. And Todo's entrance along with his fight literally had me giggling and kicking my feet in my chair with hype. The only real complaint that I have about the Shibuya incident is that the dimming and ghosting is really annoying, especially during the big cinematic fights like the ones involving Sukuna. This is more of a production thing and only a minor nitpick honestly, but it'd be disingenuous if I didn't mention it as a downside. A black flash doesn't really feel like a black flash if we don't risk a seizure looking at it. I could sit here and gush about all the good scenes in the Shibuya incident arc, but I won't, because this video would become an hour-long yap session. The things I've listed already are only a fraction of the sick shit that happens, and the final episode is the perfect finale, leaving on a rare, satisfying cliffhanger, with Yuta's reintroduction into the story and setting up Kenjaku as a major antagonist alongside Sukuna. The arc was perfect, but we need to understand why it was so impactful. This isn't the first time an anime has gotten such a banger season, so what was it about the Shibuya incident that made it stand out so much? After season 1 ended and the movie came out, all the manga readers were like, y'all ain't seen nothing yet, and promised that the coming arc would destroy all our expectations. And it did that. The hidden inventory arc was a fantastic arc that I made a whole video about too while it was airing. But the hype around Shibuya was a million times bigger. This is because there was so much happening in the Jujutsu Kaisen community surrounding the release of the anime per week. The manga was releasing banger chapters back to back, and the memes started to pile on. All the nah I'd win edits on TikTok, the Joe Goat memes, Yuji with the hands, and so many more and more and more with each and every episode's release. Leaks would come out, people would talk about the leaks, and the hype around the leaks would lead into that week's episode and the official chapter's release, which would hold the community over until next week's leaks. All this was combined with the manga unofficially going from a weekly to a bi-weekly release schedule, which left the community with nothing to do but make shitposts and talk about the anime even more. It was a fully complete feedback loop which created this insane level of hype. The era of JJK Leaks Tuesday followed by Shibuya Thursdays is the same tier as October 2022, with Chainsaw Man, Blue Lock, and Spy Family all airing at the same time. But it wasn't just shitposts and manga leaks that made the hype. There was also all the simping for the dudes, people being weird at cons and shit, and Six dropping a banger power scaling video after every episode. I highly recommend his videos if you just like to hear people talk about the series. But the Shibuya incident also had its fair share of controversies, mainly surrounding the production. My heart goes out to all the hardworking animators who made this season this much of a banger, especially under the conditions they had to work in. Allegedly, they were still working on episodes a week before they came out. And I also want to say a massive fuck you to all the fans that had the audacity to complain about the animation. I remember before I watched episode 9 of Shibuya, I heard hella people complaining about the animation, and I was led to believe the animation would be bad, but it was a single cut that looked jank. Being someone who's had to watch shit like fucking 7 Deadly Sins season 3 and weekly releases of One Piece, the audacity of some of these Jujutsu Kaisen fans pissed me off so much that I could only laugh at how fucking stupid they were. But luckily they were only the minority, and most normal people in the fanbase realized that 1, the season is fine, and we are extremely lucky to have such a well animated season, and 2, the animation isn't even bad, these people are just dumb as fuck. Though this is definitely the best arc in Jujutsu Kaisen, it's just getting me even more excited for the Culling Games in season 3, which is just more of what made Shibuya so good, cranked up to 11, with banger fights back to back to back. Even though I'm up to date on the manga, Shibuya still had me scrambling to watch the next episode despite already knowing what was coming. I am insanely excited for the coming season, and if the animation stays consistent or gets better, a certain scene involving Maki would end my life when it gets animated. Thank you so much for watching. I would say let me know if you like Shibuya, but who am I lying to? Everybody fucking loved it. Make sure you like, subscribe. Stay tuned, more anime videos coming soon. And I also stream on Twitch pretty often when my internet doesn't shit itself. So come watch. Bye bye.
Nah, I'd win.